The Man Whore podcast is sponsored by Cam Soda. Cam Soda has thousands of amateur girls next door and all of the hottest porn stars today, including Danny Daniels, Tori Black, and Brandy Love. Get free tokens today when you sign up at camsoda.com/podcast. The Man Whore podcast is sponsored by the Pure Hookup app. Pure Hookup lets awesome people have casual sex tonight. Download the Pure Hookup app on Google Play or the App Store. Pure, the hookup app that says it's a hookup app. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore podcast.
All right, what's up, all you woke bays, butch babes, and dead squirrels? There's a dead squirrel hole in my apartment. What the fuck? This is Billy Procida, and you're listening to the Man Whore podcast. Please, someone come fix my apartment. Hi, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to the show if you're new, and welcome back if you're not. If you're unfamiliar, this is a podcast where I typically talk to women I've hooked up with about sex, dating, and why we didn't work out. This week's guest, however, is not one of my former flames. No, this week I've gone on the very funny Elsa Waith, stand-up comedian and social justice warrior here in New York City, and I can't wait to introduce y'all to her in a bit. But first, show dates, people, show dates. All right, Connecticut, this Saturday, March 3rd, I'm going to be at Comics at Mohegan Sun. That is the 4:30 p.m. show, so I hope to see y'all out for that. Then I'll be back in Brooklyn on March 11th at Tender Trap at 7 p.m. That is it's a Keith and the Girl anniversary show, and I'll be doing Keith and the Girl material. So won't be traditional stand-up, but I will be there, and it'll be a fun time. I encourage y'all to come out. And for more information on those show dates and more, head on over to manwhorepod.com/comedy. And while you're over at manwhorepod.com, be sure to get on the mailing list, everybody. If you're on mobile, scroll down to the bottom. If you're on desktop, it's on the right-hand side. Being on that newsletter is the best way to stay up to date with all the latest Man Whore podcast news. Okay? You don't want to miss out on big, exciting announcements like Man Whore Con dates, free giveaways, and much more, okay? Again, manwhorepod.com. Sign up for that mailing list. Here's another important date. Today's date, if you're listening to this on the day it comes out, February 28th, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be doing another Fan Whore Facebook Live Hangout. And there will be way less construction going on in the background during that. The Fan Whore Facebook Live Hangout, that's when I like to hang out with y'all once a month and catch up on how the month's been, what I'm excited for the upcoming month, and to drop certain bits of news. I think that covers all my show date things. Yeah. Other dates are unknown dates. Like, when the fuck my landlord's going to cover up this dead squirrel hole. Yeah. I've got a shitty landlord who's cheap as a motherfucker. And we've had this dead animal stench, this smell permeating in one of the bedrooms for 3 weeks. Right? For like 3 weeks. And after 2 weeks of him failing to locate the smell, I located the fucking smell. I put my nose up literally against the ceiling and dragged my nose along a fucking dusty ass pipe and along a ceiling, and I located where the smell was. And then when we put a hole in the thing, right there is a dead squirrel. Dead squirrel. A person lived, past tense, in this bedroom. Or attempted to live. She had to not live there. She paid rent and then had to not live there. And for 2 weeks, she just had to find other places to live, even though she paid for this place, for this uninhabitable environment. On the morning of Tuesday the 20th, we pulled the dead squirrel, out of the ceiling. And I'm recording this right now on Sunday the 25th, and that hole is still fucking there. It is gross. And I asked what I thought was super reasonable. I was like, hey, do you guys mind closing the fucking hole in the ceiling? And they said, no. They said, you will wait till next week before we close that dead squirrel hole. You live with that dead squirrel. Feel the shame of living in a cheap place in Brooklyn. How dare you demand anything? Fucking slumlord, man. There's literally dead squirrel fur hanging out of the ceiling. And I can't, so this poor woman who was renting the room moved out like a week ago, and I can't show the room to a new roommate to take the room with a fucking hole in the ceiling. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. I got a bathroom that's been under renovation for 4 months. It's been unusable for a year. I've got all sorts of fucked up shit here. Shit's getting real in Brooklyn, people. Billy ain't happy about it. Ain't happy about it. Here's what I am happy about. Man-Whore-Con is looking to be a fucking blockbuster event. Not quite Black Panther level blockbuster. You know, we can... $200 million opening weekend is not necessarily something I can aim for. However, I mean, tickets have been on sale for 1 week. We've already sold 19 weekend passes. Man-Whore-Con isn't until August. This thing's going to be big. You're going to want to be a part of it. But I understand some people can't afford to travel out to New York City or can't afford a weekend pass, can't afford to put themselves up in this city in a hotel or anything. And so that coming to Man-Whore-Con may not be feasible. I also know that I have many listeners who can afford not only for themselves to travel out here, but they could afford to get someone else. So that's why I'm setting up a Man-Whore-Con scholarship fund. Yes. Okay, so for those of you, for my listeners who are on the wealthier side of things, maybe those of you who benefit from the recent tax reform plan over the long term, you know, any y'all 1%ers, hey, I'll even take the top 10%ers. If you would like to assist in a less financially well-off person attending Man-Whore-Con, shoot me an email at manwhorepod@gmail.com. I am taking donations. I will be putting this together. So if you can contribute $10, if you can contribute $100 or a plane ticket, whatever you want to pledge, shoot me an email and I'll let you know how you can make that happen. Let's send a lucky listener to Man-Whore-Con who otherwise would not be able to. And of course, you can get your weekend pass to Man-Whore-Con at manwhorepod.com/tickets. Oh man, it's going to be exciting. What am I going to do? I got to imagine we're going to have a shit ton of people. So I got to figure out something fun to do. It's going to be a blast. All right, before we go on to this week's guest, Elsa, I want to, I've got a bit of an announcement, but I need a special guest to help me announce it. If y'all remember, way back when, I had on a gentleman named Dylan Birdsall, who made a documentary called V-Card. So the film is, it's ready, it's completed, is now making the rounds. Here to share a fun announcement about V-Card is my now roommate, Dylan Birdsall. Hi.
Yeah, we live together now.
Yeah.
See, making movies really does create connections.
right across the hall from me, he lives. Which, how is that? I know I'm loud.
Yeah, I mean, Billy, you have sex quite frequently, as you know. Congrats to you as for that. It can get loud. It's loud. The walls are very thin. I believe Billy was talking about how bad our apartment is sometimes. So I hear every thrust, but you're doing a good job. So
thank you, buddy. Thank you. Well, tell me about V-Card. What's going on?
So yeah, we I don't know if you heard the podcast that me and Billy did a couple of years ago now. God, it's been, what, 2 years?
It's probably been a couple years since we actually did it.
Since we did that podcast. But I finished the film. We just got accepted to our very first film festival, which is right here in New York City, guys, which is fantastic. We got accepted to Cinekink, which is amazing. I am so excited for this festival. It's a festival really devoted to people who would love your show. It's a festival devoted to sexuality and how we navigate sexuality. It's for LGBT, it's for trans, it's for everybody, it's for virgins. And we'll be premiering there on Thursday, March 15th.
Why remind people who haven't heard your episode, which is episode 128. If those of you who haven't heard the episode, tell us like one or two lines, like what is your documentary about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the documentary follows me over the course of a couple of years while I tried to date in New York City as a virgin. I was very upset about being a virgin. Like, I hated being a virgin. I was very down on myself about that. And I wanted to explore why I felt that way. So I thought the smartest thing to do was interviewing sex therapists and porn stars and comedians and other people in my life about how they lost their virginity and about how I could maybe lose my virginity. It was, it's definitely changed who I was as a person, and it's finished now, which is amazing. So
That's fantastic, dude. I've been excited. I remember going to a screening. What was that, last year?
yeah, that was our test screening to like see if we needed to like edit anything out or like fix some of the stuff. But
Is the final version pretty much that, or did you have to do a lot of tweaking?
no, it's basically exactly the same. We got a lot of really fantastic feedback, and the notes that we got, none of them were like really able for us to fix because we made the movie for almost no money. Like it was we made it with 2 people, sometimes 3 at the most, and so yeah. But all the notes we got were super positive, so we tweaked a couple things here, maybe trimmed a little bit out there, but overall the movie.
Am I still in the little I'm in?
Of course,
am I still
yes.
in?
The little that you are.
You said we trimmed some things. It was like, oh, I was very trimmable.
No, Billy, you are still in it. Absolutely.
Technically, I'm technically
all 7
still in
seconds
it.
of you are 100%.
Is it a full 7? It felt like less.
I know it feels like less, but no, I think it's about that long.
I took my girlfriend. I took Paige to the screening, and my ex, and I was like, "Oh, I'm in this movie. I don't know how long I'm in it for, but I'm in it." He says, and then I finally shows me, and it's like very, very short. In your defense, I was not very good the day that we filmed it. But Paige had to like pretend to be happy for me, be like, "Oh my God, you're in the movie," kind of, I guess. She was very supportive.
Like, you're definitely in the movie, and it's also one of those things where I don't know if a lot of people know about filmmaking, but like documentaries, like the amount of footage that we get to the amount of footage that we put in it's a ridiculous ratio. So we have like over 100+ hours of footage, and the movie's only 86 minutes long. So
For sure.
just kind of put that in context.
So can you share, like, are you still a virgin?
I don't think I can. Let's just say that I don't want to give away the ending.
Doesn't want to give away the ending.
I'm just saying, like, maybe after the film, like, actually comes out, like, we're doing the film festival circuit now, and then, like, as that kind of goes out, I'll talk a little bit more about my experience afterwards, but, like, just go see the movie.
Go see the movie. And where can people go see the movie at Cinekink on March 15th?
So we're going to be playing at the, I believe it's the Anthology Film Center. The Cinekink website will have all of this information, plus tickets that you can buy. There are also passes.
For the whole, like, festival.
Yeah, for the whole festival. It's a.
But you can also just buy a ticket just to see yours.
Yes, absolutely. You can just buy tickets for individual films like mine, or you can buy a festival pass, which will allow you to get into some kink-related parties as well. There's, I know the after party is being held at Bowery Bliss for any of you swingers and kinksters out there. But we will be playing on Thursday, March 15th, at 9:15 p.m. at the, I believe all the films are being done through Anthology Film Center, which is on 32nd and 2nd.
Yeah, so for any information, go to cinekink.com. That's CINEKINK.com. I'll put a link in the show notes. Dylan, congrats on getting into the first festival.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks,
thanks
man.
for dropping by.
Thanks for having me on the show.
All the way across the hall from me.
But keep up the good work. Thanks, guys. And if you want any more information, just follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all those good places.
Which is
vcardfilm.com. You can get all the access through that one website.
fantastic. Now get the fuck out of my room, Dylan.
I know, you've got to talk about squirrels and shit.
Boundaries. Dylan, who almost, I think, did you almost watch me get blown by my ex, or did you have to leave? Was that a thing where I kicked you out, or I forget what happened?
You were so close to fucking her, and then her friend needed to go get cigarettes, and it just
right.
a whole event for us.
Well, I also don't know that I'm comfortable fucking in front of you. That is a whole different thing.
I feel like we're getting there.
I don't know.
If there's anybody out there who wants me to watch voyeurism,
Dylan's happy to come watch you fuck.
just let me know.
Tweet at him. At VCardFilm. Hey, you want to watch me fuck? I'm very proud of him for getting that in there. All right, before my guest, one more thing. It is that time of the month where I want to tell you to hashtag pay for your porn. Every month this year, 2018, I am paying for some porn. I'm going to tell you about it. This month, I have chosen Trenchcoat X, which is a website founded by and run by Caden Cross and Stoya. Actually, it was recommended to me by Jessica Drake. And if you don't know who Jessica is, well, then you are missing out. Reading from their mission statement, they say, "We believe in high quality product, fair prices for the consumer, and fair pay for the people who work for us." And I got to tell you, the quality is insanely good. And their series, their videos are great. They have like a lot of series. So it's not just these one-off videos. It's not like, oh, here's some chick who's going to fuck a bunch of cocks. There's themes, there's plot, there's storylines that you can follow episode to episode. I fucking love it. Or even the one-offs are super hot. Like, I got to recommend, if anyone is going to watch anything on this website, you got to watch, it's a series called Delicious. And there's one video called Taste the Rainbow. And let's just say it is the hottest glory hole porn I have ever watched. And it's super fucking colorful. That if I did recommend one video, it is Taste the Rainbow. It stars Brett Rossi and a lot of colored cocks. So really cool website. I like that you can download. I didn't know that this was a thing with porn. Maybe you don't know this. A lot of like websites seem to be like offering you downloads. So you pay for a membership and then you can actually download videos from the website for when you're no longer a member. So like I can watch Taste the Rainbow after my membership lapses for as long as I fucking want. And I think that's amazing. Just what a fucking deal. Their membership fee is super reasonable. And for that, not only do I get access to all the videos on the website, but I can download a good chunk of them over the course of a month and keep them for forever. So that's my pay for your porn recommendation this month. Trenchcoat X. You can find them at trenchcoatx.com. And now for this week's guest, Elsa Waithe. Elsa Waithe is a stand-up comedian here in New York City. She's also super activisty. Like, very well known for being in handcuffs on newspaper front pages. And Elsa comes on. I'll tell you, this is not our sexiest episode. And that's fine. I like that. I like switching it up. We are talking about oppression. We are talking about race. We are talking about gender. I would say that the first half of this episode is super social justice oriented regarding race and racism and privilege. I would say the second half talks a little bit more about how Elsa met her fiance, which is super adorable. If you're an activist, I feel like it's the perfect activism meet cute. The second half is more about like, you know, bad dates and meeting a fiance and gender and masculinity and butchness. Just a lot of great stuff going on. I couldn't begin to adequately introduce Elsa, so I'm just going to say, let's just talk to Elsa Waithe.
Oh, our podcast, Too Spicy. Too Spicy. It's the things that I tend to get banned from Facebook for. So we talk about the things I get banned from Facebook.
The things are not community standard friendly.
Yeah. So we started the podcast basically because I was banned from Facebook and Heather lost her job.
Okay.
And so we just needed like some things to do. So it's like, you want to do that podcast we were kind of talking about? And so I'm like, yeah, sure.
I feel like that's how about like a third of podcasts get started.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, we need something to do. Someone lost a job.
Exactly.
Let's do a thing.
Yeah. I just got my third month-long Facebook ban.
Yeah?
So, yeah.
What'd you do this time?
Which
white man did you offend this time?
All of them, apparently. Last year, I got banned 4 times from Facebook, all of them being 30-day bans. So every time I get banned now, it's going to be a 30-day ban every single time. And the first time, I didn't even understand why, because it was a post from like months and months and months ago. I just suddenly had high traffic on my Facebook or whatever, and then out of nowhere they were like, "Hey, remember this post from like August? Yeah, you got it. This can't stand." And so then it was a 30-day ban for that. Then I come back again, and this was around prom season. Or whatever, and there's all these pictures of men holding shotguns next to their daughter and their prom date, right? And I says the reason why this type of photo is so popular is because men know that other men are trash, and so this is funny to them. I was like, but really, it's not. When you look past what it's happening here, it's not funny.
My dad's version of the shotgun, since I was in North Jersey, was just a golf club.
Golf clubs, right? And so I thought I got banned for the the shotguns, the guns in the photo. Maybe it was threatening or violent or whatever. But it wasn't until months later when the whole like hashtag men are scum thing came out that I realized like, oh, it was the men are trash part that got me banned or whatever. Then I made a joke another time about like, I don't know, I was on an argument on another post and I just realized maybe I want to get off of Facebook. So I made a joke. I was like, you know what? I'm ready to get banned again. So deport all white people and men are trash. And that got me banned. And I was like, damn, a joke about getting banned got me banned. And then when the men are scum thing, I joined in on that. And I was like, I just want to let y'all know that this is going to get me banned. Like everyone else is going to get their post pulled. I'm going to get banned. And then I got banned.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Mine just got pulled.
Yeah.
But you know, things go well for.
There's also a escalation. So you'll get post pulled for a while. Then you'll get like a 24-hour ban.
Okay.
And then you'll get like a 3-day ban. And then you'll get like a week ban. So I've been banned and pulled enough to where now it's just 30 days every time.
You should write a book on getting banned on Facebook.
If you want to, there's some,
like on how to get banned.
If you want to, there's a couple of surefire ways. You can't talk shit about guys. Can't talk shit about white people. But you could be a Nazi.
Be a Nazi.
You can be a Nazi.
You can tell women to go get raped. You're allowed to do that one.
Yeah. So I got I got some screenshots actually of some guy talk about he was going to rape a chick with a knife or whatever, and then I was just like, hey, just want to let you know you've got your employer listed, and I'm screenshotting this.
And did anything happen?
And then he blocked me immediately.
Did you send it to the employer?
Well, apparently he hasn't been employed at that place for a year. Damn. But no, it's really funny because somebody sent me some hate mail one time, and I just posted. I didn't realize I had a hive. I got a beehive.
Yeah.
Right. Like I got a Beyonce style beehive. I didn't realize I had one of these things, but someone sent me some hate mail or something talking about they were gonna send me a noose. I know what to do with it. Right. So I just posted it up on Facebook or whatever. Within like 10 minutes, everyone had this guy's information and was posting it underneath me. And I went to like search this guy's name again. And you know how Facebook will tell you how many searches something has. He had been searched like 1,000 times or whatever. So I screenshotted that and sent it back to the guy. I was like, ooh, you should hide your name next time you send me hate mail.
Well, you're very popular. You're a popular gal in the world.
Popular. I just, you get in your own bubble and you don't realize it. Me and my partner were doing our podcast for a while, and I was purposely not tuning into the feedback or whatever for a little bit, just because we just want to get the episodes out. We just want to talk. We just want to get the episodes out and talk about the things we want to talk about. And I don't want to. It's too early for me to be hearing feedback, right? But then I checked back into the feedback, and not only are my friends listening, but my friends' friends are listening, and there's ratings and reviews. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, we're doing a thing. Like,
it's nice to know. Oh, like someone's listening.
Someone is listening.
That's good.
And purposely was just want to talk into the void and just see what happens, and it's going well. So I'm actually a little proud of myself.
Yeah. Well, so thanks for coming and talking to me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I know you were a little skeptical at first.
Hesitant.
I think I reached out to you like months ago, and then you were just like, I don't know. I think my main note for you was like, why are you skeptical of me? And I was like, oh, all right, that's fair. That's
I laughed at that earlier. Yeah. Well, I don't know what white guys to trust these days.
That's a smart move.
Yeah. Just it's a little self-preservation, and my partner accidentally wound up on the Gavin McGinnis podcast.
That dude, is he like a serious-y kind of shithead?
Yeah,
he's a big ugly afro.
Yeah. Before he's the head of the Proud Boys. That's the Western chauvinists, and they're all
the what boys?
Proud Boys. They're headquartered right here in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Proud Boys. It's a cult. They're all Trump supporters. They're bringing back Western chauvinism. And it's like a fraternity without the college.
Oh man.
Yeah, you got to get a rooster tattoo or a Proud Boys tattoo or whatever. But this Gavin McGinnis guy, he was a men's rights activist before all those guys morphed into the alt-right.
Okay.
And so about 3 or so years ago, he approached my partner while she was doing her sticker project. She's got a sticker project, which has later morphed into it's now a full-fledged conference. It's called Confronting White Womanhood. But the part of the sticker project...
Oh, that is very different than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, no, she's got it was at the women's march or the women's conference or whatever, and it's all about making white women a little less white womany.
Yeah.
You know? But she was walking around, I don't know, Greenpoint or Williamsburg or something, and she was posting up the stickers with before the white confronting white womanhood project. It was just a sticker project, and the stickers were from one white person to another, and then it was just sort of, you know, your experience is not universal, or, you know, white supremacy hurts us all, and things like that, right? And he found her putting up these stickers and sort of like, you know, charmed her into being on the podcast.
Oh, hey, what interesting thing. Never like a positive adjective, but just things to be like, oh yeah, just
yeah, exactly.
Come on my show.
And then he got her on the show and just was the most sexist, the most racist, and then the end of it was like, come back so I can fuck you on the desk or whatever, right? And I was like, if I ever see this guy, I'm gonna fucking kill him. But this was one of his more popular episodes because he gets to take down the raging feminist or whatever. Right. And I had to spend months screening her emails and her tweets. Like, she didn't even really use Twitter that much at the time, but her the funniest thing was there's like 2 other Heather Marie Scholes on Twitter, and they were catching her hate mail too, and like, and they're like, "Why does everybody hate us?" Like, so that was actually kind of funny. But no, it was just some of the most gross shit. So I get a little wary sometimes when people ask me to be on their podcast, because it's just like, who listens to your podcast? Who's on this?
Well, yeah, there's that factor always of just like, well, I mean, like, am I gonna? Someone once asked me to do a show that was like in, I don't know, fucking Bay Ridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, like, look, I don't care doing someone's show if like 12 people are going to hear it, but I don't want to travel 2 hours. Right. I live in Bushwick. That's just an impossible commute.
Right.
But then there's the other factor of just being wary of like what the intentions are.
Yeah, exactly. So
now, are you open to say something that's more argumentative so long as you know that's what you're getting into?
Yes.
Or are you just like tired of it?
Well, there's two. On one thing, I don't argue on social media that much anymore. Right.
Good for you. I need tips.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because somebody even mentioned, they're like, yeah, your Facebook is not full of arguments like it used to be. I'm like, because I just block these people. I just, you know, I even wrote an article that was in the AM New York about blocking and unfriending is a form of self-care.
Yeah.
You know, if you are a member of an oppressed group, you know, the world itself is hard enough for you. So if you can tailor your online experience, why wouldn't you? You know, a lot of people are like, you shouldn't bubble yourself off like that. But it's like, you know, you should be open to opposing opinions. But I was like, some things are opposing opinions and some things are just opposing facts. And I'm like, I'm not here for arguing my humanity. I'm not here for arguing facts with alternative facts. Like, I don't, you know, also maybe if your opinion was something like new and nuanced or something, I'm like, most of these,
give me a hot take.
Yeah. All these things,
a hot take on hatred. Give me a little something I haven't heard before.
They're all the same, you know? So I'm just like, no, I don't feel like arguing in that manner anymore. Yeah. And also, there's been plenty of studies, even just recently, that people take in information read a lot differently than information spoken. So I can type you out the most eloquent and articulate response, you know, but it just doesn't hit your brainwaves the same way. So I just choose not to do battle in that arena anymore.
Is that because like in person, like you're talking to another human and there's like a different, maybe like an empathy type connection where you're like, oh, like I'm talking to a human, not just like a screen.
Yeah, I think that has something to do with it too. And then there's that whole like too long didn't read thing. Like as soon as your response goes past like 2 paragraphs, I'm done with it. You know, like it doesn't kind of don't have the attention span to read your rebuttal like that. Right. And yeah, there is a difference to being in people's face, or, you know, maybe not in their face, but in person. And one thing that I found when I go to a lot of these sort of anti-racist workshops and conferences and things, and one of the questions posed was, you know, when you got quote unquote woke, when you got, you know, socially active, what was the thing that did it? Right. And they went around the room and everyone was like, you know, I seen an event happen, or this happened to me. No one said that they've seen a graph or a chart, or they've seen a statistic, you know? So, the reason why I don't have much hope for a lot of white people is that there are a lot of white people who do not come in contact with anybody who looks differently or acts differently or is from a different background from them days, weeks, months at a time. Yeah. That happens here in New York. I asked one time at a show, I said, when was the last time you talked to a black person? Like, talked to a black person, not just like, you know, your
ordered food.
Yeah, not just ordered food or whatever. And the people's looks were like, oh.
Some guy tried to sell me a CD on the street. Does that count? I don't know.
Yeah, like, exactly. So I think it's going to be personal. And unfortunately, what I believe is going to have to change to improve our current political and social standing is that white people are going to have to suffer. It's going to have to hurt for them, which really sucks is because it's going to hurt for me and my people first, more and harder.
Because of the initial backlash to that, that shocked the system. We're like, wait, things are unfair sometimes?
Right. So I think the only way that it's going to have to get worse before it gets better. White people are going to have to be uncomfortable, and they're going to have to be hurt by this. The moment, you know, middle America realizes how damaging Trump has been, which is unfortunate because we might not find out the full damage till years later. Yeah. You know, it'll be the next president or two, you know, before we figure out, you know, Obama's, you know, unemployment numbers are still going down, you know, and here's Trump taking credit for that. So this is things that have started, you know, 8-9 years ago that are just now showing the positive effects now, and then Trump takes the credit for that. So the negative effects we might not feel till 8 and 9, 10 years later. So
arguably, like the progression in like LGBT rights and you know, with race and things like that, you know, that's all from when Obama started. Certainly wasn't like a carryover from Bush years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So yeah, exactly, and that's 8-9 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So and we're just now and my partner, she's so fucking smart. I hope she's listening. But
your partner,
she's really fucking smart, and she was the one who told me that for every social sort of advance, there is an equal sort of backlash. And so she was calling the Trump presidency from the moment he announced his candidacy, and I was just like, no way. I took a bet the day before. If we get into a war between now and 2020, he's in for the next 4 years, because we've never switched presidents in the middle of a war. Even when the war is going bad, we just don't want to switch drivers. You know. I think he's here to stay. If we don't get him out this year, he's here to stay. And you and your fiance are both queer folk, and I mean, does that how does that terrify you, if at all? I just assume at this point everyone's just terrified. Yeah,
I'm this, and I'm terrified.
Everyone's a different level of terrified. I think if you're not scared on some level, then you not that you're not paying attention, but you're on the wrong side. And as a member of several oppressed groups, I'm black, I'm queer, I'm a woman.
A lot of cards in your pocket.
Yeah. This is my month right now. It's Black History Month, and then next month it's Women's Month, and then I get Gay Pride Month. I get all sorts of months, you know. If we count my ADHD, then I can get Disability Month too. But just being a member of multiple oppressed groups, it on one hand, it's very frightening, but you channel that fear. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Elsa, what do we do or whatever?" You find an issue or two, and you work on it, because all oppression is interlocked, is intersectional. So if you're working on an issue for Black Lives Matter, then that's an issue that affects the fight for 15. You know what I'm saying? The fight for 15 is something that directly impacts capitalism, if that's your thing. You know what I'm saying? Women get paid less. Black women get paid even less than that. Spanish women get paid even less than that. So all these sort of struggles are all interlocked. If you're worried about, the environment, well, then Black people typically live in the most unhealthiest environments. Yeah. So, all oppression is interlocked.
So take a couple things to put your focus in.
And put your focus in there.
So I shouldn't feel bad that I'm not on every issue.
Right. No.
You know, like Israel Palestine. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't,
you know,
it's,
you know what? I'll be the first to say I don't quite understand what's going over there. I mean, free Palestine, right? Because I don't like oppression.
I mean, my opinion on it is like the opinion of the last person who talked to me about it. Because I don't know. It's not that I don't care. It's just it's so low on my list of priorities.
Right. It's a little harder to be focused on it when it feels a little further away.
Yeah.
But if you focus on like, okay, here in America, we occupy, you know, if you look at like Standing Rock, right? That's a very similar sort of occupation and a very similar sort of government force, police force. And so again, Palestine stands with Standing Rock.
Yeah.
You know, so that's an interlocked, you know, if you're upset about the occupation in Palestine, then there are occupations here in America that you could work work against.
But even things like Standing Rock, like it was in these like random places where like that felt far away from me.
Right.
If Standing Rock was in Jersey, I'd be like, you know, it's a lot closer to home. I should probably read up on this thing.
Yeah. Well, what I tell people is just to work inside your sphere of influence.
Yeah.
You know, you have more power than you think you do. And again, I keep recognizing that over and over when I, you know, on my social media and out and about, people recognize me. They're like, hey, it's Elsa, just Elsa, you know, from Twitter.
You've been on like the cover, like the New York Post in handcuffs so many times.
Yeah, it's that picture made it around the world, actually. My friend was in the UK and she was like, I'm reading UK GQ.
Yeah.
And the picture is in UK GQ. So it's the same exact picture that was on the front of the Post. So I have a copy of UK GQ now at the house with that picture in it. What upset me the most about that picture is that underneath
and just if you want to describe the picture, just in case people don't know this.
Yeah.
I'll put a link in the show notes for it.
It's a picture of me on the front of the Post, and I'm being arrested. You can't quite tell though. That's the thing that bothers me the most about the pictures. I'm being arrested, and I'm yelling, and in the bottom of the picture, the headline says "Fury," right? Like, but really, actually, there's a cop just outside the clip where they cropped it or whatever. That's actually twisting my handcuffs.
Yeah.
So it's actually more like anguish. But then the cop that is in the photo, he's just like touching my chest. So it looks like I'm losing my mind because this cop is like touching my chest, right? Like, but then,
still a powerful photo because I didn't even notice any of that. So I just saw. I mean, maybe I was biased because like, well, I know Elsa, and then I'm seeing you in such pain.
But then this also happens. This particular march also happens the night of, or the day of, like later on that evening was the Texas sniper. The Dallas sniper who was shooting the cops out of the parking garage or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm in jail that night, and they've got the TV on, and we're all watching that, and I'm like, oh, this is no good for me tomorrow morning in court, like. So then in the morning, my friends, you know, when I'm getting, you know, I got to go to court and they sentence me or whatever. And when I get out, my friend has the newspaper for me. When you flip it on the front, it's got me, Fury. And then on the other side, it's got the Dallas sniper story. And then it says war on police. So if you're not really paying attention, it looks like myself singularly are starting a war with the police. So yeah, it's a really crazy spread.
Well, your fiance's also super activisty, right?
Yeah.
Is that a thing where it's like, you know, like couples that march together, stay together?
Pretty much. Our second date was a protest.
How did you two meet?
I showed up at her door on Thanksgiving because of protesting. This is my very first protest arrest. Was at the Eric Garner and Mike Brown non-indictment protest where New York was sort of erupting in protests like nightly for like a month. There was protests all over the city for like a month. And I was in my very first protest. It was just marching with everyone else. I got arrested. And my very first protest, my picture again goes viral, right? For the first time. So that was the first time I was all over the newspapers. And what they did was they printed my name, my address, my name, my neighborhood, and my age. Now they got my neighborhood wrong, but they got my roommate's neighborhood right. And we lived together. So we were both, you know, we were very new to activism or whatever. And I didn't know who might be, you know, wanting to harm me. So this was a couple of days before Thanksgiving. I just holed up in the house, and a lot of my friends were sending me money. Some people thought I was still in jail, so people were sending me money.
Help you get out.
Right, and money was coming in for days, and like Thanksgiving showed up, and I realized I hadn't even went and got groceries. So I just, if you guys, I'm good with money. Please stop. Please stop sending money. Send a turkey. Send a turkey. I says, if anybody knows where me and my roommate can get a Thanksgiving dinner, I've been too afraid to come out of the house to buy groceries. Right. And so they, a couple of people sent me some places I could go for dinner, and a friend linked me with my girlfriend's roommate. And they were like, yeah, we're having a dinner for strays. We've got non-vegan and vegan options. Come on over. And so when I got there, Heather was there, and we didn't realize we were flirting with each other, but we were. And then I seen her again about a week or so later at a protest that I was leading that night, and it was like a couple thousand people. And I was riding this big guy's shoulders, and she come up next to me or something, and I almost wanted to stop. They're like, stop the revolution. I want to talk to this girl. So she it was kind of cool. She got to see me in action,
And she's like, I'm talking to the protest leader. So.
Yeah. And then she invited me back for Christmas. So I came back for Christmas, but I was super awkward about it, so nothing happened then or whatever. And then she messaged me back, and I thought I made too much of a fool of myself, so I kind of didn't respond back right away. Had an awful New Year's Eve date, just the worst. Like, if I wasn't so anti-police, whatever, the bar even offered to call the cops on my date.
What happened with the date?
I was having a New Year's Eve show to benefit the movement. Right. And everybody on the show was somehow, way, shape, or form connected to the movement. And one of the comedians, shout out to Evan Jones, he had got arrested a couple of weeks prior and wound up doing a set in jail for I
remember hearing about that.
Right. And so I wanted to have him on the show, because I'm a firm believer that humor needs to be a part of the movement. And so I had him on the show, and the date that I had, she showed up drunk. She showed up to the date drunk. She showed up to the date drunk and with someone else, like another friend.
Okay.
So
not like another hey, I'm bringing a third. No, just like a friend,
just a third person. So that was
never do that. Group first dates, not a good first date.
Yeah.
Anytime some chick from Tinder's like, well, why don't you come out? We're hanging out with my friends. I'm like, I'm not trying to be creepy when I'm saying I want to get you alone. I'm just saying that never goes well.
Yeah, I want a one-on-one date with you.
Yeah. Save your friends for a couple dates in.
Right. So she brought a friend. It was super weird. She was already drunk. And by the time Evan gets on stage, she was like, I thought this was a show for black people or whatever. She was like heckling, but she was heckling everybody. Yeah. Right? That was the problem. She was already heckling everybody. And then she started heckling him, and she's like, threw something or whatever, and the bar was like, we're about to put her out. Like, do you want us to call? I'm like, no, just let's just put her out. And I just pretty much wound up ignoring her the rest of the day. But in the morning, it's New Year's Day, and I'm just like contemplating my entire life and like, what the fuck sort of decision did I make last night or whatever. And I was like, I think that other girl liked me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that certainly is going to make Heather look great.
Right, exactly. So I was like, I think that other girl liked me. Why didn't I just call her or whatever? So I messaged her, and we went on a date a couple of days later, and we were already planning another date during that date. So the rest is history. The short form story of it is that we met on Thanksgiving, friends by Christmas, dating by New Year's. So
now she's a white lady.
She is a white lady.
In the midst of all this, was that ever like a thing that was on your mind? Just
briefly,
being in the movement with it, since race was so a central part of what you were doing.
Briefly, what I have to tell people, for one, and she's made me write more jokes about it. She's also a good writing partner, even though she's not a comedian at all. But what I have to tell people is that I don't hate white people. I hate whiteness, and whiteness often entails exclusion. And that's just not what I'm about, right? Like, I wouldn't want anyone to not date me simply because I'm black, right? And also, she's there's a difference between being non-racist and anti-racist. So a lot of white people will say, well, I'm not racist. That's fine, right? But what are you doing to like actively undo some of the racism that you still probably exhibit, and that's in your friend group or in your family or in the sphere of influence that you have. You personally not being racist is fine, but you know, racism takes more. It's more than an individual responsibility, which is what I think a lot of people have, or at least a lot of white people have decided. Well, like, you know, I don't say the N-word, or I don't do this, or I don't. I'm like, yeah, cool, that's good, but then there's also a lot more work you have to do.
There's like individual responsibility, but then the next step would be individual accountability, like holding your other friends accountable.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and what that would entail is actually for a lot of white people would be renouncing a lot of privilege. It would be renouncing a lot of social standing. And so I do not expect a lot of white people to be up for that.
Sure.
Right.
The Man Whore Podcast is proudly sponsored by the Pure Hookup app. Wow. I've been working with Pure for about a year now, and just really enjoy playing on this app. If you ever want some casual sex, unambiguous, tonight, the Pure Hookup app is for you. I've had some like good times on this app. So I'm not just like getting paid to tell you about a dating app. Like, I use this app and I've successfully used the app. I have used it to eat a chick out on the West Side Highway while her door is open and cars are whizzing by. I have used it to have a woman come over before she went to work, and I just kind of properly prepped her for a day at the office. And then even most recently in San Francisco, I fucked a stranger in a public park around midnight before she drove me back to my sister's house. So, you know, lots of fun to be had. Even the unsuccessful Pure encounters have been kind of successful. Like, I think the second time I went to meet someone on the app, I ended up not being into her. She ended up not looking the way I was, you know, feeling. But when I got in the lift line that I took to get there, someone had left a Tupperware container full of weed that just became my weed. So, like, I didn't get laid, but I got some free weed out of it. Like the Pure Hookup app, making things happen. So I encourage everyone to download the Pure Hookup app on Google Play or the App Store. Pure, the hookup app that says it's a hookup app. I wrote that line, by the way. They never gave that to me. I'm very proud of that line. Honestly, they should have paid me extra for writing such a good tagline for them. But go download the Pure app, everybody. They support the show. You should support them. The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored this week by Cam Soda, your 24/7 digital strip club, conveniently accessible from your computer, mobile device, or tablet. Oh, Cam Soda, what a great camming site. And a camming site I have used myself. Turns out there are a lot of really, really hot porn stars who I met in Las Vegas at the AVN Awards who cam on Cam Soda. Oh, isn't that awesome? Sarah J., who y'all might remember from this podcast, she's on Cam Soda. Emma Banks, who you're going to hear from her sister, you know, soon. Ash Hollywood, she's super hot. She flagged me down at Dunkin' Donuts. Tana Lee, who I met when I was interviewing Kendra Sunderland, she's on Cam Soda. Oh my God, all the hottest people are on Cam Soda, and you're gonna want to go jerk it watching them. And you know what? I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna help you get started. You can get 50 free tokens when you sign up using the link camsoda.com/podcast. Use that link to sign up. It's absolutely free. No hidden fees, no secret rebilling or charges. All you got to do is sign up, start your free trial with 50 free tokens. I signed up and I sprinkled my tokens around to some of the cute people I discovered on there. Go give Cam Soda a try today, or maybe more tonight when you're home and you can, you know, properly use it. Go to camsoda.com/podcast. Now let's get back to the show. But what does that look like exactly? I think we say things like renounce social standards. Like, what do you mean by that?
White people like comfort, right? Was what I was
let me relax a little bit.
Get super comfortable. White people like comfort. And the thing with racism is that it is uncomfortable, right? And so even when you know that your friend has said or did something that might be racist or just definitely is racist, white people have reported having to work up the courage to say something to their friend because now if I don't just laugh this off as a joke, well then now my friend is now uncomfortable with me because I said, hey, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's more than just your friend. That's your social group. That might be your job, if you have to say something to a coworker or a boss or a subordinate or something. In your family, that might mean you don't get to talk to your rich aunt anymore. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know, at least in Heather's case, she's not doing exactly her family is not, her immediate family is not racist. But I did meet the racist aunt and the racist grandmother, who, of course, are very nice in front of your face. But
the racism is very subtle. It's just very
right. She does not have a close relationship with them anymore because of their, racist tendencies. So you have to be willing to cut people, places, and things out of your life. And I know that that's uncomfortable. I know having, to come out as queer, that lost me some friends. I don't dress in a normal feminine way. So I'm sure that's cost me some jobs or some money, but you have to be willing to what are you willing to lose? What are you willing to sacrifice for what is right? And when, once you really start to dig through some of that stuff, that's not really what white people want to do. I want to post the nice thing on Facebook. I don't really want to do the work.
Right. And the same thing goes not just with racism, that goes for like people who like make, the homophobic jokes. It goes for that's a toxic masculinity. I mean, I think men in the same exact way have the same problem on, I think, the same scale as the racism argument you just said. Because we have to be willing to call each other out. I think that's something that we're hearing in the comedy world. Yeah. Dude comics being willing to tell another dude comics like, yeah, nah, dude, that's not really great.
It's one thing in the abstract to say that this is wrong, but when it comes time to put the rubber to the road, that's when the consequences and the uncomfortability comes in. And, but that's what it's going to have to take. Yeah. I often tell people that black people didn't create our situation, so it's not really on us to undo the situation, right? If it wasn't our choice to come to America and be slaves, it wasn't our choice to earn, a fourth less, 3/4 less than a white person. It's not our choice to live in, poisonous conditions. We don't choose that. So it is our responsibility to resist. It's women's responsibility to look out for each other and to speak up. But we did not create these, these institutions. We did not create these conditions for us. So it's going to take the people in power. I believe it was Angela Davis or Assata Shakur. I can't quite remember who said it, but the master will not give you the tools to undo his house. So if we keep waiting around for the men in our lives, or for the white people in our lives, or the straight people, or whatever oppressed group you belong to, if you're waiting for the oppressor to hand it to you, it's not going to happen that way. We're either going to have to take it by force, or the oppressor must stop oppressing.
Yeah.
Right. Which is often not in their best interest.
No, not at all.
So, That's where I stand on that. There's lots of things that men can do to champion the women in their lives. If you think this opportunity is too good for you, then maybe pass it along, and that's really hard for for some people to do, because it's a lot of it is an ego thing. And I think once we start to stop viewing, it as, viewing an us versus them sort of, and I say that to the oppressor, not to the oppressed, but we will all be a lot better for equality. White supremacy hurts white people. Yeah. I don't think white people understand that, but I often point to segregation, right? Where it's like, you had to have two schools And like, granted, one is less, funded or not, not as nice as the
You
other
still
one.
had to make a whole nother thing.
You had to make 2 buildings.
The amount of paperwork
Yeah,
alone
exactly.
should be enough to make you be like, maybe we should rethink the segregation
Right,
thing.
you had to have 2 water fountains. If I'm performing for the audience, you have to pay me once to perform for the white people and again for the black people. You know what I'm saying?
And who does that benefit? The water fountain companies. Okay, big water
Big water.
fountain.
Big water is dividing us all. So
I say the same thing about like slut shaming, misogyny with dudes. I'll be like, hey, dudes who are mad you're not getting laid as much.
yeah,
If you stop telling chicks that they're dirty sluts,
Yeah.
they might fuck you more.
exactly.
Weird concept.
Does that not make sense? Like, hey, like maybe be nice. Like,
I'm big with like I'm fine. Some people think like get mad at like dudes who quote unquote like use feminism to get laid.
Yeah.
I say let's start there. Like
Yeah.
if that's the motivation they need to like just get started,
Yeah.
let's go with it. That gets them to a few like meetings, read a book. Like let's just start there. I'm sure it will take and catch
Yeah.
on.
So I work for Swipe It Forward right now. I do work with Swipe It Forward, the Swipe It Forward movement. Which
And swipe,
is,
what is that?
Swipe It Forward. It's in direct opposition to the NYPD's broken windows policing system, which is, if we can stop you from committing this small crime, then maybe we can stop you from committing a larger crime. So the whole theory is if you see a building with a broken window, then there's actually more problems with this building, because if they won't fix the broken window, there's more problems with the building.
But
right?
maybe they just can't afford to fix the broken window.
Well, so Swipe It Forward, what it does is it's helping people get on the subway. So
is that what it's called when I swipe people in?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I think
Exactly.
I learned about that from like I think you and Allison Klemp. I think you
Yeah.
two would like post a lot. I was like, because I didn't even know that was a thing.
Exactly.
I lived here a decade, and for 7 or 8 years of that, I thought when people were asking to swipe through, I wasn't like supposed to.
Right. So there's a misinformation campaign right now by the NYPD that you're not supposed to do that, but we actually forced their hand in having to release a statement that as long as you are exiting the subway, you can use your card to swipe other people
Right.
But I say all that to say is that it's a multi-level sort of campaign where on the surface, yes, it's a nice thing to do, and it makes you feel good to help somebody out, and it's just like a little like that's why we call it Swipe It Forward. It's a little like pay it forward, do a kind thing for someone, right? But when you peel back the other layers of it, then you start to see how this is actually combating a racist system where 92 or 95% of those who are arrested for fare beating are black and brown, whereas you ask just about any New Yorker, they've all jumped the turnstile, went around the turnstile, or whatever.
I'm terrified. I'm too much of a rules person. I'm a good boy. I don't.
You got to break out of that. You got to kill the policeman in your head first. But that's the thing, though. So you peel back the layers, and so okay, cool. Let's go to a feminist study thing just to check out the chicks, right? But then while you're in there, I hope you get something.
Yeah, you gotta take a few things in.
Take a few things in.
Yeah, maybe start dating one who teaches you a thing or two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not put all the emotional and labor, all the labor on the women. I often tell people, like, if you want to learn about black people, read a book by a black person. Don't just start asking black people. That's weird.
Sure, but from my perspective of
Yeah.
having to try to do things like that, whether I think I relate to that more and say like with queer spaces or with misogyny. Reading the books only gets you so far.
Yeah.
It really is, unfortunately, like there is that, like you have to
Yes.
interact to see how real it is.
Yeah.
If there's ever a doubt in your mind, but
it's what it is. It's an all encompassing sort of thing. Like if you want to learn chemistry, of course you're going to read the chemistry book.
But then you need to do some
But then you need
chemistry.
to go to the class, and then you need to do some chemistry.
Yeah.
You need to talk to chemists. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So like, you're gonna. Of course, you can hang around black people. You can hang around more women, but also like read some literature. Like do something outside of your comfort zone, and and the other thing that allies, and I don't like using allies because it could be a very passive term. What I'm looking for in this life is comrades. You know what I'm
I
saying?
like comrade.
Right. And
I
people,
won't. I also won't feel like such a saying
Yeah.
ally. Be like, oh, look how some of the ally I
Yeah,
am. Maybe like,
exactly.
hey, what's up, comrade? Okay,
Yeah,
we're going to battle.
Comrade gives people a little like, ooh, that's a little Rushy, it's a little Russian or whatever. It's a little socialist, but yeah, sure.
Sure.
Yes, sure, it is a little socialist, yeah. But comrade is a more of a active term, and I prefer comrade. But one of the things that I tell allies is that you're going to get it wrong. What you do when you get it wrong, after you get it wrong, is what's really important. Because, and I've seen this so many times where white people come into the movement or whatever, and they say or they do something wrong, and they get a critique, maybe gentle, maybe not, and then now they're done. Or same thing with men and trying to, be more feminist. They say or they do something wrong. They're called out on it. And then it's like, well, fuck it. Crazy feminists. Right. And it's like, well, no, you need to, okay. Not everybody's going to be able to correct you in the nicest way. Some people are just super fed up with shit. So when you fuck up, their tank is already empty.
And it doesn't necessarily make them right to attack. Right. But also, like, you can understand why.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, I had a guy in my therapy who said that the women in his other group therapy all sort of snapped off on him, and he just sort of had to sit there and take it. And when he left, he was obviously upset about it that everybody, bugged on him like that. But he was like, they did have a point, and we're all in group therapy, so they do have trauma in their life. You know what I'm saying? So while the volume and the temper was not what I needed, the message was still there.
And if I can give everyone a recommendation when someone gives you that critique, sleep on your tweet response. Yeah. So learn from Billy's huge monstrous mistakes. Don't tweet back right away. Think about it.
Yeah. Maybe try to figure out what they're saying. And here's the thing. Once you realize you were wrong, if you were actually wrong, then you make amends. Yeah. Just apologizing for it is not enough. You have to then figure out what you have to do to make it right, which sometimes is corrected behavior. Do it differently the next time. It's sometimes you might have to come out of pocket. Like there's also, you have to figure out, I've been to AA a million times. Making amends is not something that you get to choose.
Sure.
And then the best apology is corrected behavior. One of the things that bothers me so much about this, about the Me Too movement right now is that when these guys get caught, none of them are making like a sincere apology, even when they're making apologies.
Who do you think's done the best apology so far? If we were having like Me Too awards,
who's got the best?
Not that they deserve a pat on the back for having a great apology. I say this as more like who's setting close to the better examples.
I think Louis C.K.'s was almost there.
Agreed.
Yeah. It was almost there. He did focus too much on himself, There was like about 3-4 times when he kept talking about like his own greatness or whatever, and it was my power and my privilege that made me think that this was okay, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if that was just the amount of feedback he got about it being a power dynamic that he was almost trying to emphasize, like, no, I recognize there's a power dynamic, and it comes off as like, look at me. But then
at the end, the part that bothered me the most was that he's like, I'm going to disappear and take time to reflect, right? And it's like, no. Disappearing is the easy thing to do. Are you going to go to a class? Are you going to go to some sort of therapy? Like, what are you going to do to prove to us that you really are making amends? Because just saying sorry and I'll go away now it's almost there, but not really. Some of my best apologies that people have given me is like, after this happened, I decided to do this. And it's a concrete thing. There's a thing right now called safety pin box. Okay. It came out when the whole safety pin movement became a thing, right? And what I hated about the safety pin movement was right.
I remember watching you post about safety.
What I hated about the safety pin movement is that it again still puts the most of the effort on the oppressed person. I have to look for the person wearing a safety pin and then ask you to help me, right? And so that still puts more pressure on the oppressed person. So in response to that, a group of black women came up with this thing called the safety pin box. It was even featured, I think, on The Daily Show. But the safety pin box is a box that you get every month that you pay for, that white people pay for, and it gives you concrete, measurable steps on the way to becoming a better ally. Books to read, classes to go to, things you can do when you're give money to somebody.
It's like a Blue Apron for being an ally.
That is the best. Yeah. And if you're feeling some sort of white guilt, like, don't just walk around with that white guilt, like, do a thing, So if you're a guy and you feel like, ooh, maybe the ways in the past because you know what? I'll be the first one to say that I have had misogynistic behavior, chauvinistic behavior in my past. I've you
are a studly gal.
Yes. in my quest to, I don't know, assert my masculinity, I was toxic for a time, mimicking the men around me. And it took me understanding that, ooh, this hurts people that I claim to like, and then doing things to undo that. So nowadays I see shitty shit. I was just at a bar last night, and these two gay guys are like right up in each other's faces, and they're yelling at each other, and the one guy like grabs the other guy by the lapel, and most people,
of course, by the lapel,
because they are very fancy men. And I was like, oh no, don't crush his silk, but but also it's like, active bystander. I'm not just, in my past, and then I know in my past, and in other people, you're like, that don't involve me, turn away or whatever. But that's exactly how people get hurt, And so I looked at another person like, hey, we're gonna do something about this. We gave each other like a little nonverbal nod or whatever, and we just both went up on each side like, hey, let's dance over here, and just intervene, But it in the past, I would have let that go. And somebody might have gotten hurt, and they wound up arguing again later on in the evening, but it was calm, it was chill, it was a lot chiller than them grabbing up on each other, So
how old are you?
I'm almost 30. I'll be 30 soon.
What you said you used to like exhibit toxic masculinity a little more. What would that look like? Because when you say toxic masculinity, if I said I've exhibited toxic masculinity, you've got those movie scenes already in your head. But you don't hear that from women or from queer women as often, right?
It's a well kept secret.
Yeah, well kept.
It's a well kept secret. There are just as many queer women and gay men are problematic as well. Because I don't think the problem is sexuality as much as it is gender and our socialized upbringing. But I would badger women, for sex or sexual favors even after they've said no. Never anything physical, but like I'm blowing up your phone a lot. I'm showing up in places where you've already made it clear you don't want me to be at. A lot of disregarding people's feelings after I got what I wanted, a lot of lying and not being open and risky behaviors, I never like drugged anyone's drink, but I did encourage women to drink more in effort, in hopes that it would loosen you up for sex when you've made it clear that you don't want to drink anymore. It's that coercive sort of thing that Aziz ran into, and we talked about this on my podcast, where it's like, I think what we're trying to understand right now, especially in the wake of Aziz, is that these behaviors lie on a spectrum. Right? Do I think Aziz is a monster rapist or whatever? No, but the things that he did were coercive and pressuring, and while she might have consented to this thing but not that thing, or I'll go this far but not that far. He was constantly testing her boundaries and pushing, and nothing that we can call the cops for, but not comfortable, not considering the other person enough, and that lies on a spectrum. It's on the there's coercion maybe on one end, and then physical all out rape on the other end, but all these things are toxic, and they all line up on a spectrum. So I think one of the what I hope one of the goals of this Me Too movement is to sort of define this spectrum a little more, and that there are some things that are criminal, and then there are some things that are not, but they're all bad.
Yeah, they're all shitty.
Yeah.
But, not everything that's shitty is rapist. Like, not everything gets rounded up to that, but it doesn't mean they're off the hook.
Right, exactly.
When did you realize what you were doing was shitty dude-like behavior?
I realized it was so much more work for me to have sex sometimes, you know? And I'm like, that's another thing, like, I don't quite understand is like, once I realized, like, I'm working so hard
to fuck this person.
When I could just fuck someone who likes me.
Yeah.
You know? So it was really sort of, and then to hear from other women, you know, like, hey, I didn't really like our encounter, you know?
So you got the Aziz text of, hey, like, I didn't like what happened last night.
Right. And
you didn't rape me, but I didn't like what happened.
Yeah. And knowing how some of the men in my life had treated me and how, you know, the ways that I had felt after some of these uncomfortable encounters or whatever, you know, I haven't always been gay. I had, you know, as most gay people have, a time of bisexuality, but, just knowing how some of the men in my life made me feel and how I didn't care for it and how it left a bad taste in my mouth or how I view this man differently now. And then to think that other people might be thinking that about me. I'm like, oh no, that's not what I want, you know? And especially as a woman, that's not what I want. So, I'd say right before I moved to New York, I've lived in New York on and off my entire life because my family is here. But, when I moved here permanently about 5 years ago, and, I says, I'm going to leave my old self in Virginia and, you know, start off new. And I knew that New York was sort of a hotbed for radical thinking, you know, radical black thinking, radical queer thinking, and radical, you know, feminism or whatever. So I says, the more I learn about these things, even when I was still in Virginia, the more I learn about these things, the more they seem to sort of line up with what I want or the things I want to see in the world or whatever. And then I looked at my behavior and I realized the way I act does not line up with the things that I want, you know? And how could I say I want, freedom and liberation when I have not liberated myself? These are oppressive thought patterns. These are oppressive behaviors that hurt other people and hurt me. And like I said, white supremacy hurts white people. Toxic masculinity is toxic to men, you know, first and foremost. You know, you don't get to express your full range of emotions. You don't get to be free, you know.
We miss out on that whole crying thing.
You miss out on the whole crying thing.
I'm a big fan of, and you're not, not allowed to.
Yeah, well, you are. You should challenge that, you know. But yeah. So I just realized that all these things are oppressive to me first and foremost. So I says, when I got to New York, I'm going to dive into radical communities, and the first thing you start to change is your own thinking, you know. And so then the behaviors follow, and then after you change your thinking and you change your behaviors, you attract the type of people that you want. So, and now, you know, me and, I'm practicing radical love for people, even when I don't agree with you, even when I don't like you, you know, it's just like the whole, like, you know what, you be blessed. I'm not going to argue.
Kill them with
you.
kindness.
Yeah. And that's like one of my roles almost sometimes when I go out and protest is I like to do the joke brigade where you just joke all the police and you fry them or whatever. And it's like, look, your hat doesn't even fit, or like,
that takes balls to do.
Yeah.
That takes, is it spoons? Is that what I'm supposed to switch
Spoons?
to? I think someone said, some people like to use tubes.
I say gonads.
You like gonads?
Yeah, because women and men both have gonads.
Oh, right.
Yeah. It takes the nads.
Takes the nads.
Yeah, I like to joke the police, and then also when, like, you know, when typically white bystanders want to come up and yell at us, I'm like, hey, come here, talk to me. Come here. Wait, don't yell. Talk to me. Yeah. Right? Like,
say your hate stuff, but like, let's be at this voice register right here.
Yeah, let's talk. And
let's be a viral YouTube video of like two opposite sides having a peaceful debate.
Yeah, I have a video. For a moment, a friend of mine was making a documentary on me for her master's in documentary filmmaking, and so there's about a 30-minute film about me that we're still working on. But in the video, we're doing a thing about Eric Garner, and we're at Grand Central, and this guy comes up out of nowhere, and he's like, "That guy's a criminal. He's a criminal." I was like, "Hold on, come here, talk to me."
Yeah.
I says, why do you think Eric Garner's a criminal? He was like, he was breaking the law. I was like, what law? Right? And he was like, he was selling cigarettes. I was like, would it surprise you to know that the police found no cigarettes on him? Right? And he was like, well, He's like, black people are 600% more violent. I was like, come on, man. You know that's not a real number, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, if it was a real number, why am I not like ripping your face off right now? Like, come on, man. I hit him with some facts and, talk to him and change my tone, because normally this would be a person I would just walk up and punch you. You know what I'm saying? Fuck it. No more conversation. You can't come. We're doing a silent visual and you want to come yell at the silent visual. Fuck you. I'm going to punch you, right? But also my pacifist ways are very new. So
working on it.
Still working on it. I do feel a little punchy from time to time, but you change your thinking, you change your behavior. This man is uneducated on the facts, is really what it is. Right? He thinks he knows, so he wants to come educate us on what he thinks he knows, but he's missing some facts here. And so, but then once I hit him with the facts or whatever, and he just runs off or whatever. So, but in my previous past life, I would have just went and punched him, so it's radical thinking is manifesting itself in my life in radical behavior. And I think it's sort of, people ask me like, how do you joke about these sort of things on stage or whatever? And I says, but at the core of it, racism is silly, right? Yeah. It's frightening, it's scary, it's angering, it's hatred. But at the end of the day, it's really silly, right? You don't think that's stupid to think that you think you're superior because you have a different skin color? Simply just because, the richest black man can still be inferior in the poorest white man's eyes, right? That doesn't feel silly to some people. That's my philosophy. I have to talk about it on stage, because if not, then why the fuck do I have this microphone to make cheese jokes?
Cheese jokes. That's dope. Time for the fan whore appreciation moment. What is up, everybody? Yes, this is the part of the podcast where I like to thank a few of the members of my fan whore community on Patreon. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it's kind of like a monthly fan club subscription meets Kickstarter. You choose how much money you want to pledge each month, and depending on how much money you pledge, you get various types of rewards. And one of those includes a shout out here on the show. So I want to say a big thank you to Ray N, who she sent me a DM on Instagram recently, which was quite good. She says, "So I had a dream about you last night." She says, "So I had a dream you had a show near me, and in my dream you had a bodyguard. And I wrote you a note and gave it to him to give to you, and then the next day you showed up at my house where you then asked if I had ice cream. And I only had dairy-free, and you were pissed. But you gave a good hug. Ray, you were so right. If you only had dairy-free ice cream, I would have been furious. But I am so happy and thankful and grateful that you are supporting the podcast with your dollars. Also, shout out to Aiden M out in Australia. If you go to Burning Man and you see someone colored in neon lights riding a bicycle, that just might be Aiden. Thanks, buddy, for your generous support. And shout out to Amy, who seems to be at the center of our unofficial Pittsburgh Fan Whore meetup crew that has organically formed, which is super cool. And you too can become a member for as little as $1 per month and help me finance this career of mine. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. Now, if you haven't already been skipping through this whole little section, we can just go ahead and get back to Elsa Waith. I do want to talk about, before we finish up, I want to talk about, you did this shoot for Them.us.
Yeah.
Where you were quite glammed up.
I know.
I'm just like, is this a look Elsa does that we never fucking see?
That's they purposely. So Them.us, it's a new Condé Nast publication. Condé Nast is all of your favorite magazines, all your favorite glossy magazines, the Vogue, Teen Vogue, name it. Condé Nast has a hand in it. It's an online publication. I don't think they're making a print publication for this, but it's for gender non-binary, gender non-conforming, and trans folk. I consider myself non-conforming, so that's why I use she, her, or they, them. And the shoot was about butch women, women who aren't transitioning, where I'm a lot of people will sometimes use he, him pronouns for me, and I understand that that's them trying to be considerate.
They're like jumping the gun on it
Right.
without asking.
Without
first.
asking,
Yeah.
right? So it was about, women who live in this sort of gray area, and for the longest time, butch women were just butch women. But you see a lot more people transitioning now because that's an option. And so because of that, you're seeing some people say, I don't think so, and this was the point of the shoot, was that butch women are disappearing. And we're becoming a smaller segment of the queer community or whatever because more butch women are choosing to just transition into men.
Yeah.
And where have all the butches gone was sort of the name of the shoot or whatever. And they asked us to bring your clothes. I wore this shirt that I'm actually wearing right now. And they were like, just dress how you would normally dress. So I had my ripped jeans and my shirt. They did my makeup, which was really nice.
That was the part that stood out to me. I was just like, oh, whoa, what's Elsa wearing up there?
Yeah. I think I like makeup.
Pull it off.
Yeah. And someone in the comments, because comments are fucking awful, but someone in the comments section of the video was like, why did they put makeup on these butches? Isn't that not antithetical? I'm like, no, well, that's the whole point. Is that we can present however we want.
Yeah, there are no more rules.
Yeah, and they didn't. Someone said they look like they put lipstick on you. I'm like, no, the guy just used a lip plumper. So he used like a little cream, a little gel on my lips to sort of like smooth out the texture and plump them up, and which made them a little redder. I was like, no, I actually like that. Actually, like it was a good look. I liked it, and I wore that hat that I had right there, and a hoodie, and I wore what I normally wear, and it was also really nice to be the only one that didn't have a suit. Yeah,
there were a lot of suits, good suits. Like I've never worn suits that good as those women were wearing.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I was happy to be the only one not wearing a suit or a blazer or anything, because that's also another sort of pigeonhole that butch women get into. Like, you must all want to wear suits, and you must really want to be a man. And I'm like, I just like to wear clothes. Like, all my clothes are most of my clothes are thrifted. I wear what fits and what I like, and some things I have are from the women's section, and some things I have are from the husky boys section. So it was nice to be the only one not wearing a suit and give the the spectrum of what butch women look like.
Have you always felt that way? Have you always kind of butched up, like even when you were a kid? Or?
Yeah, I mean, my mom just recently apologized to me for making me wear girls' clothes for so long. And once I was about maybe 13, 14, when I really came to terms with, like, I'm a lesbian. And my mom refused to buy me clothes out of the boys section if she was going to pay for it, right? So that made me do two things, which was like, I need to get a job now so I can buy my own clothes. But the other thing was I would pick out like jeans that are like a size or two too big, so I could like sag them a little bit, Or if we're getting clothes out of the girls section, I don't want pink, I don't want lace, I don't want frills, you know what I'm saying? So I'm getting maybe the most gender neutral of the women's section, straight leg jeans. I don't want the bell cut, the bell bottom cut or the skinny cut. I want straight leg or baggy cut or whatever. So I've always skewed towards a more masculine presenting sense of self. Yeah. I cut my hair when I first moved to New York. My hair was very short. I cut my hair like as soon as I could. My mom would give me money to go to the beauty salon or whatever, and every time I would go, I would have them cut my hair a little shorter, a little shorter, a little shorter. And then one day I was just like, just buzz it. Just take it all off.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And probably cheaper.
I mean, I started growing dreads because I ran out of money for haircuts, because keeping a fade looking nice is expensive. You got to get your hair cut like every 2 weeks. And I ran out of money for that. And then eventually just dreads started happening. So. Sure.
How did it feel? I've heard the phrase like experiencing gender a lot. And I don't get as much of it because of the way I grew up. So, like, when you were put in those girly clothes, like, what's that feeling that feels off, if there's a way to describe? It doesn't
feel like me. Like, I mean, the way I try to explain it to men is like, imagine having to wear high heels all the time, right?
I did once for a photo shoot. And not for nothing, I did crush it.
I bet you did.
Nailed it.
I'm sure you're quite graceful.
I walked a mile in the city, literally in the shoes, and didn't fall once.
Yeah.
Woman holding the camera fell in flats. I was like,
wow.
What excuse you got?
Look at you. Coordinated and graceful as shit. But how was that day? Did it feel like you?
It didn't feel like me.
Here's the thing. While it doesn't like necessarily affect how you move in the world, right?
Yeah.
Like I can do the same things in women's clothes that I can do in men's clothes. It's just like a feel, like this doesn't feel right, you know? And so, I remember for a birthday one time, my mom like made me put on a dress for my birthday. And while I had a really fun birthday, I the whole time it was in the back of my head, like, I don't like this dress. I don't like this dress. Yeah. Like, I can't sit the way I want to sit. Like, you know, I can't run, you know, so it felt very restrictive and constraining. And I remember when I cut my hair, all off and I looked at myself in the mirror, I'm like, this is what I want to look like. It was like, it was like removing a mask suddenly and like, there I am.
Yeah.
That's what I want. You know, when it's just that feeling of like putting on a fresh outfit and knowing that, yes, this shirt fits me right, and these pants fit me right, and these shoes fit me good, and you feel a little more confident as you walk out the house, you know. So it was just like it felt like this is me, you know. I'm finally just now getting to a point where I feel like I look the way I want to look, you know. Like I like my hair in dreads now and long, and it's race affirming, and I like sort of living in this sort of gray area of, you know, male, female. Certain parts of me are very feminine and certain parts of me are definitely not. And for a while I was definitely fighting away my femininity, but I'm a Gemini, so I've found ways to bring my other half in.
June 5th.
May 31st.
Okay, we're like right there. No.
Yeah, Geminis make best friends with other Geminis
Dope.
too. Yeah, I've got a Finn and Lil tattoo on my shoulder. So that's like my, you know, my masculine and feminine side. They were the dirty, muddy twins. You know, always making mud pies and eating worms, and, you know, favorite childhood cartoon, and the boy and girl side or whatever. So I've really found a way to reconcile both halves of myself, and everyone says that starts to happen around 30. So I'm excited for my 30s.
That's dope. And how did it feel to finally have mom just kind of out of the blue call you and apologize?
Well, she didn't call me, but she's just now starting to come around, and I don't feel like I have to like dance around certain parts of the conversation, you know. And it feels a little more at ease. Me and my mom have a very complicated relationship, just besides for the whole gay thing. We're both sort of struggling alcoholics and things like that. So, I had a very volatile teen years and, young adulthood, first moving out of my mom's house and stuff. But, to at least know that she's somewhat made some peace with this, because it's not changing, you know. It makes me feel good for her. You know, I think there was a time where she like blamed herself, or, you know, not like, you know, this is a blaming sort of thing, but I know for a while, as parents sometimes do, they get upset with themselves or whatever, and then there's a whole church thing. My mom's very religious or whatever, but I feel like she's starting to let some of that go and come back around to me. We're working on our relationship.
Well, Elsa, that's great. That's awesome. Thanks for chatting with me.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming by.
I got a couple things I want to plug. Can I plug a thing?
Oh, no. Yeah, that's what I got. A whole little thing. It says plugs, underline, do all the things. Yeah, no, don't plug just a couple things. Plug all the things. What do you want?
Okay,
where do you want them to find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Elsa, just Elsa. Please don't find me on Facebook.
No. It's not just Elsa. It's at Elsa, just Elsa.
I did not realize that was going to be difficult to say to people. You have to put in all three words. Otherwise, you're going to come up with Disney's Elsa. And that's
very different person.
Yes, Elsa, just Elsa, all
way
three
less
words.
Racial activism on that one.
I have a whole joke about children being introduced to me as Elsa and shattering their dreams. But yeah, find me on Twitter at Elsa, just Elsa. And then me and Heather's podcast is also on Twitter at 2Spicy Podcast, 2 the number, Spicy and Podcast, 2Spicy Podcast. And then Affirmative Laughter is my monthly comedy show dedicated to diversity and hilarity. I have a diverse lineup every month, and then only one white guy.
Oh gosh.
Just to show people how awkward that is when you're the only black person, the only woman, or the
Wait,
only
you're saying we got to compete for just one spot on the lineup?
One spot on a lineup. The shows have been
Damn it, Elsa! This is bullshit.
I'm just trying to keep things equal, just trying to keep things equal. The shows have been sold out, packed out. People have been waiting outside.
And where's the show?
It's at the Queer Center, at the LGBT Center in the city on 13th Street, the last Friday of every month. And then I'm also recording a half hour with my West Coast counterpart Wanjiko.
Oh yeah.
I like to joke that me and Wanjiko are actually the same person. We just move really fast. Like, you can't tell. One of us has hair and the other one doesn't.
And when and where is the
that's
the
also
recording?
going to be at the LGBTQ Center in the city, 13th Street, 208 West 13th Street. That's March 2nd. So it's back to back.
It's gonna be a couple of days after this comes out. So if you hear it, go on out, people.
Yeah, get out there. I can't say enough about Wanjiko. She's got a fire half hour coming, and I think I do too.
Fantastic. Thanks again. Why don't you say goodbye to everybody?
Goodbye, you guys. Well, or next time. See you next time.
It's not goodbye. It's see you later.
See you later. See you over on my podcast. After you're done listening to this, come on over to Too Spicy.
Ooh, Elsa, what a delight. Make sure you go follow her on the social medias. And if you live in the greater New York area, go check out her half-hour taping on March 2nd. I'll include a link in the show notes. Also, if you live in the greater New York area, go to Cinekink on March 15th and check out V-Card the Film by Dylan Birdsall, my roommate. And as always, I encourage y'all to follow me on the social media places. I am on Twitter and Instagram at @TheBillyPresida. A lot of you, I would argue most of you, don't follow me on Instagram. And I don't understand why not. Go like the Man Whore Podcast fan page on Facebook. Again, that is my Man Whore Podcast fan page, not Billy Presida, the profile, because you will be denied. I appreciate the thought, but that is a private place for me. If you do want to talk to me privately and you want to use more than like 140 or however many characters they give you on Twitter, shoot me an email. Love getting your comments, your questions, your titty pictures. You can send all of that over to manwhorepod@gmail.com. You can also email me if you want to learn how you can assist the ManwhoreCon Scholarship Fund. Last and certainly not least, do become a member of my fan whore community on Patreon. Come join us in the Champagne Room, our super secret and exclusive Facebook group for patrons. Quite the community forming on there. It's really cool to see people connect with each other, and then they go on meet up in person. Join up for as little as $1 over at patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/boom, Man Whore Podcast. Not the boom. Don't type in boom. That's not part. That was just more an onomatopoeia, if anything. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Next week, we have got on porn star Ryan Driller. I'd be willing to wager some of you ladies know his work. But until next week, go fantasize about Ryan Driller. Go watch some people on Cam Soda using camsoda.com/podcast. And as always, stay slutty.